Welcome back to the deep dive. Usually when we talk about the Los Angeles South Bay or the harbor area, you probably have a very specific mental image in your head.
Oh, yeah. Usually it's the 405 traffic.
Right. The 405, maybe the beach. Or if you're into logistics, maybe you're picturing those giant cranes out at the port.
Yeah, the heavy industry stuff.
Exactly. But if you look at the stack of sources we have today, and we are specifically zeroing in on the news cycle from just the last 30 hours or so, the signal coming out of this region is, it's basically flashing red.
It really is.
Yes.
And it's flashing in a way that, well, it completely contradicts the national narrative we keep hearing.
Yeah, that's what caught my eye, too.
Because we constantly hear about, the death of cities or how everything is moving into the cloud, the whole virtual economy thing.
Remote work, all of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you zoom in on places like Torrance, El Segundo, San Pedro right now, you are seeing just a massive double down on the physical world.
The physical world is exactly where we are planting the flag today, because we have this stack of documents here that paint a picture of a region operating at a completely different velocity.
Yeah, things are moving fast.
Really fast. We're talking about a $123 million bet on industrial logistics that just closed, a new headquarters that is literally printing the future of space travel, and this wild culinary explosion that really suggests the workforce down there is changing rapidly.
It's this crazy convergence. You've got heavy industry, high-tech aerospace, and this hyper-local culture all smashing together.
Yeah.
And we're going to cap it all off today with something that I think will genuinely surprise people. We found some data on the economics of content creation, specifically looking at a studio down in San Pedro called Voxel.
Oh, man, that Voxel data.
Right. It completely flips the script on the whole AI versus reality battle.
The math on that last segment is just startling. I actually checked it twice because it didn't seem right, but it is. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
No, we need to start with the heavy machinery.
The money. Let's start with the money. We have a transaction in Torrance that just crossed the wire. 588 Crenshaw Boulevard.
Yeah. And the headline number there is $123 million.
Which is just a lot of zeros.
It's a massive number. I mean, for context, $123 million isn't just expensive for a warehouse. That is a portfolio-shaping amount of money for a single asset.
Right.
And to really understand why this matters to you as a listener, we have to look at the players involved.
This is where the detective work gets super interesting. So, on the sell side, you have Link Logistics.
Yep.
And they are a unit of Blackstone, which is basically the biggest of the big boys in private equity. They definitely know what they're doing. But the buyer, that's where I got stuck. It's an entity controlled by Christina K. Wong.
Yes. And this is where you really have to connect the dots.
Yeah.
Because Christina Wong is the president of Golden Star Trading.
Okay, Golden Star.
Right. If you check your pantry right now, you might actually have some of their products. They are a massive Asian food provider.
So she's a food executive.
Exactly. But here's the kicker. She didn't buy a food processing plant.
No.
She bought a 265,000 square foot Class A industrial facility. And it's fully leased to a completely different type of company.
Yeah, the tenant is Next Level Apparel. They make blanks, T-shirts, activewear, that kind of thing. So help me understand the strategy here. Why does a food executive drop over $100 million on a warehouse full of T-shirts? It feels like a mix and match game.
Well, it's about asset class diversification, certainly. But more importantly, it's about this concept of infill industrial.
Infill.
Yeah. And this is a term we really need to unpack today because it is driving the entire LA economy right now.
So infill usually means building in the gaps, right? Like filling in an empty lot in a city.
Exactly. In real estate, you have greenfield projects. That's where you go out to the desert in Arizona or Nevada. You find some cheap dirt and you just build a massive warehouse.
Because there's nothing in the way.
Right. It's easy. But Torrance is infill. It is deep inside the urban core. You are surrounded by millions of consumers. You are right next to the Port of Los Angeles and Long Beach, and you're just minutes from LAX.
And the key constraint there is you can't make more of it.
You literally cannot. There is no more land in Torrance to build on, period. So when Josh Zegan from Madison Realty Capital, they're the ones who provided the financing for this deal, by the way.
Right.
When he calls these irreplaceable port-adjacent locations, he isn't just using marketing fluff. He is using a strict financial definition.
Because if Next Level Apparel wants to move goods from the port to a customer in LA on the exact same day, they have to be there. They can't do that from a warehouse in Phoenix.
Correct. It's a defensive asset. It's entirely about speed to market.
Yeah.
And Tyler Olima, the broker from the Clabin company who handled this, he called it a benchmark.
A benchmark for the whole area.
Yeah. He's signaling to the market that despite all the doom and gloom headlines about commercial real estate, which are mostly referring to empty office towers downtown, by the way, industrial land in the South Bay is essentially gold bullion right now.
It's interesting you mentioned the office tower crisis, because this facility is part of what we call the innovation economy. It's not just about storing boxes anymore. It's about supporting the whole ecosystem around it. And that ecosystem is getting incredibly high tech.
That is the perfect transition to our second pillar today, El Segundo.
Ah, the self-proclaimed aerospace capital of the world.
You say self-proclaimed, but the data actually backs it up.
Does it really?
Oh, yeah. The sources for this deep dive highlighted a statistic that frankly blew my mind. Half of all vehicles and satellites currently in space were manufactured or designed in El Segundo.
Wait, half? Like 50%?
50%.
That is staggering. I mean, I think of El Segundo and I think of the Chevron refinery, or maybe the LA Times building. I definitely don't think of it as mission control for the entire planet.
It is the silent engine of the space race right now. And the news from the last 24 hours is that Roboze, which is a major player in advanced manufacturing, just opened their new U.S. aerospace and defense headquarters right there.
Now, let's get technical for a second here. When we say manufacturing in this context, are we talking about assembly lines, sparks flying, guys with welding masks?
No, and that's the big shift. Roboze specializes in additive manufacturing,
Okay.
which is what most people just call 3D printing. But forget the little plastic Yoda heads you print at the local library. They are working with superpolymers and composite materials.
Superpolymers. Break that down for us. Why is that such a big deal for aerospace?
So these are materials like PEEK and PEEK. They have thermal and chemical resistance that actually rivals metal, but they are a fraction of the weight.
And weight is everything.
In aerospace, weight is cost. Period. Every single pound you put on a rocket costs thousands of dollars in fuel to get it into orbit. So if you can print a fuel valve or a mounting bracket out of a superpolymer, instead of machining it out of a solid block of titanium...
You just saved a fortune in launch costs?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Roboze didn't just pick El Segundo for the nice weather.
No, I imagine not.
They moved there because of industrial clustering. It's an economic theory that basically says industries get way more efficient when they bunch together in the same physical space. Roboze is now literally down the street from Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and RTX.
So if an engineer at Northrop is working on a new design and they need a prototype bracket, they can literally just walk down the street to Roboze.
Precisely. They can have it that afternoon.
Yeah.
But there's a geopolitical angle here, too, which I find really fascinating. The CEO of Roboze, Alessio LaRusso, used a very specific phrase in his opening remarks regarding this new headquarters. He talked about industrial sovereignty.
Industrial sovereignty? That sounds, I don't know, intense, like national security intense.
It is entirely about national security. Think about it. We have spent the last 30 years offshoring everything. We sent the factories to Asia to save a few pennies on labor.
Right.
But what happens when there is a global pandemic
Mm-hmm.
or a conflict?
The supply chain just breaks. We saw that happen.
Exactly, it breaks.
Huh.
So industrial sovereignty means bringing the physical means of production back home.
Reshoring.
Yes. So this isn't just a business move for them. It's a resilience move for the country.
Mm-hmm.
By using 3D printing, they don't need a massive, sprawling factory with custom tooling that takes 6 months to set up. They can print a replacement part for a fighter jet or a communication satellite on demand right there in El Segundo.
Wow.
It decentralizes the supply chain and secures it entirely inside U.S. borders.
Okay, so let's look at the map we've drawn so far. We have the heavy logistics secured down in Torrance with that massive $123 million deal. We have the high-tech sovereignty being built in El Segundo with superpolymers. But all these aerospace engineers, the logistics managers, the investors, they are human beings.
Right.
They have to actually live their lives down there.
And they have to eat. Which brings us to the third layer of this deep dive today, the lifestyle shift in the South Bay.
You know, usually when we talk about heavy industrial zones, the food options are pretty grim.
Yeah, vending machines.
Vending machines, maybe a sketchy drive-through, some fast food chains. But the sources for this week paint a very different picture of what's happening on the ground.
It's almost a gentrification of the palate. We aren't just seeing new restaurants pop up. We are seeing real destination dining moving into these industrial corridors.
The headliner here, and this is big news for anyone who knows LA, is Zankou Chicken.
An absolute Los Angeles institution.
If you know, you know. That garlic sauce is legendary.
It really is.
And they just opened a new spot in Lawndale, right on Hawthorne Boulevard.
And look at the geography of that move. It's minutes from the Manhattan Beach Pier, but it's also minutes from those massive aerospace campuses we just talked about.
Yeah, right in the middle.
This is a highly strategic move. Zankou is fast casual, but it's high quality. It's made from scratch Mediterranean food.
Right.
That appeals directly to the engineer making six figures who only has 30 minutes for lunch, but completely refuses to eat a greasy burger.
It's premium fuel for the innovation economy.
It really is.
Yeah.
But it's not just them. The list of recent openings in the sources is actually kind of overwhelming. You have Sagon Oi Cafe opening up in downtown San Pedro. You have Wanderlust Creamery doing a soft opening in Torrance and Rolling Hills.
Wanderlust is huge. They are known for those crazy travel-inspired ice cream flavors. That is a very premium product to bring to an industrial suburb.
Exactly. And then you have Prime Pizza coming to Torrance, though the sources do note that one is delayed until 2026.
Still, even the delay tells you something important.
What do you mean?
It tells you they're betting on the long-term growth of the area. They're willing to lock in the location now, even if they can't open the doors for a while.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And we're seeing high-end coffee move in, too. Offset coffee roasters, First Flight Coffee. These are serious third-wave coffee shops.
Which really signals a change in how people are using the physical space.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a standard drive-through coffee place is for grabbing a cup and leaving. An independent roaster like Offset is what sociologists call a third place. It's where people have informal meetings, where they sit and work on their laptops, where the local community actually gathers. It turns a place from just an industrial park into a walkable, livable community.
Yeah. So let's zoom out for the listener here. We have this booming ecosystem happening all at once. Real estate is trading at premium benchmarks. Aerospace is reshoring critical production. The culinary scene is rapidly upgrading to match the demographic.
It's a lot of noise.
It is. So if you are a local business owner or a creator or just a professional trying to build a brand in the middle of all this growth, you have a real problem.
The creator's dilemma.
Exactly. How do you tell your story?
Yeah.
Because the standard advice you hear online is always just make more content, just post more.
Yeah, but anyone who has actually tried to make good video content knows that is way easier said than done.
It is incredibly high friction. You need proper lighting, you need clean audio, you need a camera that doesn't make you look terrible. And usually you're stuck with two bad choices. You either spend a fortune hiring a full production crew, or you try to do it yourself in your bedroom with your phone, and it just looks amateur.
Which brings us to the final, and honestly the most surprising, piece of our source puzzle today. We've talked about the industrial side, the culinary side. Now let's talk about the media infrastructure supporting it. Specifically, Voxel Micro Video Labs down in San Pedro.
Located right on West 6th Street.
Yeah.
And they pitch themselves as an AI-ready content engine.
Now, I have to be honest. When I first read AI-ready content engine in the sources, I immediately assumed they were a software company. I thought, okay, here's just another AI video generator app.
That is exactly what I thought, too. But they are the exact opposite. They are a physical studio. And this is where we really need to stop and look at the math, because it exposes this wild paradox in the current tech market.
Let's look at those costs. So Voxel offers what they call a velocity starter package.
Right. So you walk in off the street.
Yeah.
You sit down in a professional set. It's acoustically treated. They have cinema cameras set up, 3-point pro lighting. You sit there and record for 50 minutes.
Okay.
The cost for that? $30.
Wait, $30 for the whole session?
For the entire 50-minute session.
I mean, I paid more than that for my lunch delivery yesterday. That basically sounds free for professional production.
Exactly. Now let's compare that to the digital alternative that everyone is so hyped about right now. AI video generators. You know, things like Sora, Runway, Luma.
Right.
We all just assume digital is free, or at least super cheap. But if you look at the actual compute costs for high fidelity, 60 frames per second AI video, it comes out to roughly $30 per minute of generated footage.
Let me make sure I have this right. The physical studio in San Pedro is $30 for almost an hour of recording.
Yes.
The AI generator is $30 for one single minute.
Yes. And if you wanted to generate a full 50-minute narrative video using AI, you are looking at $1,500 in computing credits. Not to mention the hours and hours of rendering time.
That completely flips the standard logic we've all been fed. We've been trained to think that physical equals expensive and digital equals cheap. Why is it suddenly the other way around?
It ultimately comes down to physics and energy. Think about what an AI is doing. To generate a video, a massive server farm somewhere has to hallucinate every single pixel, frame by frame, from scratch.
Right.
That takes an enormous amount of electricity and raw GPU power. And right now, that compute power is incredibly scarce and expensive.
And a real camera.
A physical camera is entirely passive. It literally just opens a shutter and lets ambient light in. The sun provides the light. The physics of the lens provides the image. It costs effectively zero energy to capture reality.
Wow. So we have reached this bizarre point in history where real reality is actually the budget option, and synthetic reality is the luxury good.
That is the perfect way to frame it. And Voxel seems to be built entirely on capitalizing on that physical efficiency. They call it the TV set effect.
Explain that for us. What does that mean in practice?
Think about how late-night talk shows work. They don't set up the lights and cameras every single day from scratch. The lights are bolted to the ceiling, the microphones are perfectly dialed into the mixing board, the host just walks out, does the monologue, and leaves.
It's a factory line for content.
Exactly. Voxel's doing that for the average person. You don't have to mess with tripods or SD cards. You just show up, talk, and leave. If you need something bigger, they even have a cinematic 400-square-foot global leader suite for $140.
And the sources mention the workflow efficiency, too. It's not just about the upfront recording price.
No, it's about the instant turnaround.
Yeah.
If you are prompting an AI video, you are tweaking it, re-rolling it, waiting for the render, it takes hours of your time to get it right.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
At Voxel, because the audio is recorded in this dry, acoustically treated room, it is automatically AI transcription ready. You walk out of the room with dual-angle video ready to go. You upload it to an AI editor like Opus or Descript, and it basically cuts itself into social clips instantly.
So the physical studio captures the raw material because that's cheap and authentic, and then you let the AI handle the post-production because that's where software is actually efficient. It's a hybrid workflow.
Exactly. It leverages the absolute cheapest part of physical reality, which is the capture, and the most efficient part of digital reality, which is the editing. You turn 1 hour of sitting in a chair into weeks of social media content.
There is one other aspect here that I think really matters, especially for the businesses we talked about earlier. The aerospace companies, the real estate brokers.
Authenticity.
Yes.
This is the uncanny valley problem.
Yeah.
AI avatars are getting better, sure. But at the end of the day, we are evolved monkeys. We are incredibly good at spotting a fake human face.
We really are. Something always feels just a little off.
Exactly. So if you are selling a $123 million warehouse in Torrance, or you are trying to recruit top-tier engineers for your El Segundo space startup, you cannot do that with a synthetic avatar. You need to look someone in the eye and build trust.
You just need to show up.
You need to show up. And what Voxel is proving is that showing up is actually the cheapest, most efficient marketing strategy you have left.
It connects everything we've talked about today so perfectly. The theme of this entire deep dive really seems to be a massive return to the physical.
I think that's the headline for sure.
Yeah.
Look at the pattern of the last 30 hours. In Torrance, the value isn't in some virtual crypto coin, it's in the dirt, the physical land that connects the port to the city.
Yeah.
In El Segundo, the innovation isn't in a new software app. It's in a physical polymer part that actually gets strapped to a rocket and goes to space.
In Lawndale, the value is in fresh, tangible food made by hand.
And in San Pedro, the value is in the physical studio that captures real human connection.
It's a really compelling counter-narrative to the whole everything is going virtual hype cycle we've been stuck in.
It is. And for our listeners, whether you are an investor, a local creator, or just someone living and working in the South Bay, the real opportunity right now is in the tangible.
So let's wrap this up with a clear takeaway for you, the listener. We've covered a massive news cycle today, $123 million trading hands in Torrance, cementing it as this irreplaceable industrial fortress. El Segundo literally printing the supply chain for the next generation of space defense.
A culinary renaissance, making the whole area a destination, not just a workplace.
And Voxel Micro Video Labs democratizing the ability to actually tell those stories for $30.
The barrier to entry has completely collapsed. You don't need a Hollywood budget to compete with the big brands anymore. You just need to leverage the physical tools that are popping up right next door.
It is a fascinating time to be watching this region. Now, before we sign off, we always like to leave you with a provocative thought, something for you to chew on that goes beyond just the sources we covered.
Yeah, and I've been thinking a lot about that cost paradox we touched on. I want to push a little further.
Go for it. Let's hear it.
So we have spent the last decade assuming the future is basically the Matrix. that we will all eventually live in a digital simulation because it's cheaper and easier.
Right, the whole metaverse pitch.
Exactly. But looking at the massive energy costs of AI computing and the incredible efficiency of physical places like Voxel, I want you to ask yourself, are we heading toward a future where real reality, actually filming yourself, meeting in person, eating real food, is the working class budget option?
Oh, wow. And the alternative?
That synthetic reality custom AI generation, lab-grown experiences, perfectly rendered virtual worlds becomes the ultimate luxury good, something that only the ultra-wealthy can afford because of the energy costs.
That is a complete 180 from every sci-fi movie I've ever seen. The rich get the simulation, and the rest of us get stuck with just regular reality.
It's really looking that way.
Man, that is definitely something to think about while you're waiting in line for that garlic chicken in Lawndale. A huge thank you to our listeners for tuning in. This has been the deep dive into the South Bay's physical renaissance. We will see you on the next one.